I'm Ben Wesley. If you went to my high school around 2014, 2015, it's not improbable that you've heard of the Moth Joke. Now, despite its unassuming title, the Moth Joke is an epic story of love and loss, telling the tale of Sally, a moth living in a world where butterflies reign supreme, as she unexpectedly becomes a champion in the sport of competitive cotton eating. However, when it is least expected, tragedy strikes. 2 years ago, I first heard mention of Moth Joke the musical. It's very hard to find any sort of information about it, but so far as I can tell, back in 1982 the Moth Joke was adapted into an off Broadway musical. The show flopped, worse than the Oogie Loves and the Big Balloon Adventure, and it disappeared into obscurity. I thought I'd never be able to experience any of it, until last month when I was at a local yard sale. I was there casually just poking around, looking at some 1990s paperbacks to see if there would be anything good, when to my complete surprise, I realized that I was holding one of the only existing, perhaps the only existing, copy of the script for Moth Joke the musical. I looked back into the bin, and what should be there but a hand-labeled cassette tape with the original demo recordings for the songs, sung by the composer and lyricist Oliver Rayston. I got the whole thing for 75 cents. I was thrilled. And it's bad. Whoever thought adapting the Moth Joke into a musical was a good idea was probably an idiot. This should not exist. It's just as bad as you would expect. There is an entire song about chartreuse. But it does exist, and in the hopes that I will entertain you, I am going to share with you what, so far as I know, is the only remaining recording of Moth Joke, the musical. Now, the musical's frame story is that Ben, a high school student who coincidentally has the same name as I do, is telling a freshman the story of the Moth Joke, which Ben himself learned from Josiah, a friend of his who had graduated the year before. In this first song I'm going to play for you, Ben laments Josiah's absence at the school and decides to turn the Moth Joke into a musical in order to preserve his memory. Josiah has gone to Oklahoma, leaving us here at home all alone. Josiah, last year's valedictorian, will not be seen round here again at home. He will not soon be forgotten for all the pain he has begotten through his dreaded 30-minute Moth Joke. But all in all, he was a decent bloke. Now these kids don't even know who he is. Friend, tennis player, and all-around whiz. His legacy must be preserved as long as possible. I know. We'll put the Moth Joke into song. Impossible! We'll need lights, we'll need sets, sound effects on cassettes. Get a cast, get a crew. Just tell me what to do. Where do I come in? We just need you to listen. Would you like to hear a joke? It's really good and short. It's about a moth named Sally and a very important sport. Just a moth named Sally, just a poor little fool, just a female moth trying to survive senior high school. Poor Sally's the least of the least, the average moth lifespan is but a week. So among the crickets and butterflies, she can't do anything but wait to die. She's just a moth named Sally, she's just a poor little fool. How could she fail to realize that monarch butterflies rule? My name is Sally, no one really likes me. Just because I'm a moth, my case is all but lost. My name is Sally.
Sally? Who is she?
No one really likes me.
Oh, that girl who makes us want to hurl.
Just because I'm a moth, my case is all but lost.
Moths are trashy, butterflies are classy. Moths are trashy, butterflies are classy.
Just a moth named Sally, just a poor little fool. Just a female moth trying to survive senior high school.
Just a moth named Sally, just a poor little fool.
Oh, I wish I was cool.
She's a female moth trying to survive senior high school.
This next song is sung by Sally while she is in detention, after the evil monarch butterfly Dana frames her for breaking Coach Linnaeus's cotton-eating trophy. Here I am alone in detention for crimes that were not of my invention. But who would believe that the crime was not conceived by me, but rather by that butterfly? Oh, right now I wish I could die. While she is in detention, Sally meets Steve, the American snout butterfly, who encourages her to try out cotton eating for herself. Her father is greatly opposed to this risky idea, but as Sally is crying in her room, the ghost of her dead mother appears to encourage her. Dear Sally, don't be afraid. Follow your heart, you'll regret if you stay. Leave the world behind to follow your heart. And remember that we will never truly be apart. Abandon all logic for cliched platitudes, and all the world will look to you with thankfulness and gratitude. Take risks and know they'll pay off, and never forget who you are, a moth. After Sally wins the school cotton eating competition, her enemy Dana reappears to taunt her, reminding Sally that she still has to win the county competition. You think that you're so cool because you ate some wool. I mean, they'll all of you at school now, but if you think it'll last, you're a fool, Sal. You stuff some cotton into your ugly face, but unless you win the next contest, you'll still be a disgrace. Congrats on winning this one, but that was sheer luck. I'm not trying to be mean, just don't want to get your hopes up. I'm gonna win this, you wait and see. I was doing this for fun, but you made me take this seriously. I'll prove the worth of moss, I'll win the competition, then I'll stand and shout that moss are great to whoever will listen. Don't be presumptuous, don't make assumptions. You talk big, but you've got no real gumption. You, are going to win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. At the county competition, Steve the American snout butterfly and the rest of Sally's community rally around her to cheer her on as she eats. Eat, Sally, eat. If you can do this, it will be quite a feat. Eat, Sally, eat. Shove it in there with your tiny little feet. Don't just sit there, start to chew. You can do whatever you set your mind to. You can do this, we believe in you. Oh, you know that we are here for you. Every moth in mothdom is proud of you. And even I, your friend, who's a butterfly, I'm so proud of you that I want to cry. Eat, Sally, eat. If you can do this, it will be quite a feat. Eat, Sally, eat. Shove it in there with your tiny little feet. Ain't the cotton sweet? After Sally wins, she begins to ignore her old friend Steve, which makes him very sad. As he realizes that successful Sally will no longer be his friend, he sings this bittersweet song. I speak to you in apostrophe, because our friendship has become a mere memory. I see you there with your entourage and wonder if my memory's just a mirage. I guess this is it. So, I guess I'll move on. I guess I'll find somebody else. I would be there for you, but you left me all by myself. That was nice, that was fun, when I was the only one who was with you. Now you have all these friends, but I know none of them know the real you. That was a good time we had, but I can't be sad, 'cause it's done. All that I can do is to look back and say, that was fun being with you. That was nice, that was fun, when I was the only one who was with you. Now you have all these friends, but I know none of them know the real you. I do, but I'm saying to you. Now you have all these friends, but I know none of them know the real you. Sally goes on to compete in the state's competition. When she comes home, her new friends ask her what happened, and she sings them this song.
I arrived at the statewide competition. The air was thick, palpable was the tension. I was the only moth there, I thought. Have I done enough to prepare? But now's the time to do or die. I'm better than these butterflies. And so I took my seat, never willing to admit defeat. The starting gun went off. What a proud day to be a moth. But chartreuse was the flavor. With it, I was not familiar. I tasted it, fearing it would be rotten. Behold, my new third favorite flavor of cotton. So I ate and ate and ate and ate and shoved it into my mouth. And some kid somewhere for the first time was glad to be a moth. At last the time was up. I knew at least it had been fun. Then they announced the winner and said, Sally the moth had won!
In the frame story, the freshman Ben is telling the story to is confused by the reference to the color chartreuse, which he hasn't heard of before. Ben then sings him a song with various facts about this unique color.
How could you be so obtuse not to know the color chartreuse? The name never referred to a color before the year 1884. It can be either yellow, green, or lime, and it was named after a spicy French wine. Chartreuse. Chartreuse is the color for me. Named after a French wine, I think it looks mighty fine. Chartreuse. In 1960, there was even a movie that Hollywood produced, and its title was Chartreuse Caboose. Chartreuse. Chartreuse is the color for me. Named after a French wine, I think it looks mighty fine. Chartreuse. Chartreuse. Chartreuse is the color for me. Named after a French wine, I think it looks mighty fine. Chartreuse. It's good for me.
After Sally wins the national cotton eating competition, she goes to the international cotton eating competition in Paris, France. While she waits for the contest to start, she meets the monarch butterfly Pierre, and they fall in love at first sight, though Sally finds Pierre's name to be wonderfully attractive, while the French Pierre thinks that the name Sally is simply repulsive.
Your name reminds me of that spot on my back I never can reach. Your name reminds me of the sweet tender flavor of a really nice peach, or that time I believed in world peace. A rose by any other name would not smell half as sweet. I've been struck by the arrow of love, and gladly admit defeat. Your name is so torturous, tantalizing, I can't help but find myself fantasizing how sweet it would be if we could marry. Your name reminds me of fingernails scraping across a blackboard. Your name's worth more to me than anything that I could afford. A rose by any other name would not smell half as sweet. I've been struck by the arrow of love, and gladly admit defeat. Your name is so torturous, tantalizing, I can't help but find myself fantasizing how sweet it would be if we could marry.
In the frame story, Josiah himself unexpectedly shows up in the middle of Ben telling Sally's story. He tells Ben how the idea of making the Moth Joke into a musical was nothing more than a joke, and that Ben should simply give up on the idea. Ben replies that although the idea of turning the Moth Joke into a musical may seem crazy, so did the idea of Sally competing in the international cotton eating competition. Sally comes out and joins Ben on stage, and the two sing this duet about how they will both chase after their dreams no matter what. I know this idea seems like the stuff fever dreams. are made of.
I know this entails the risk that I will fail, but I'll do it for the love of Pierre. I know this looks insane, but to me it's plain that I have to try.
I'll make my friends proud of me.
I'll earn the love of Pierre.
Carry on Josiah's legacy.
Inhale that cotton like it were air. I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna do this right. I'm gonna go out there and put on one heck of a fight.
I'm gonna do this now. No one can tell me no. I'm gonna go out there and put on one heck of a show. I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna do this right. I'm gonna go out there and put on one heck of a fight. As Ben continues telling the story of the Moth Joke, Josiah begins noticing that Ben's telling of the story is very different than his. He begins to protest against the alterations Ben is making, as Ben even wants to give the musical a happy ending. Ben, however, protests that, as the adapter of the Moth Joke, he now has full artistic license to do what he wishes with the Moth Joke, despite what Josiah may want. By George Bernard Shaw, the greatest playwright that ever was. If he couldn't have his way in the musical adaptation of his play, what makes you think you're better than him? Everything here changes at my whims. I'm in control now. You'll look at this and say, how is this my story? But I'll say, ain't it a glory? Stories evolve, it's the nature of this one thing. Let us make sure Sally lives happily ever after, because now I am the mascot. Though Sally loses the International Cotton Eating Competition, she gets back together with Steve and lives happily ever after. However, Steve had already been dating another girl, and this other girl was very sad when Steve left her for Sally. She was absolutely torn up. She cried and cried over their breakup, and, well, have you ever seen a mothball? Just a moth named Sally, just a poor little fool, just a female moth trying to survive senior high school. Just a moth named Sally, just a poor little fool, just a female moth trying to survive senior high school.